And we're live. Hello, citizens, and welcome back to the Comm Relay. Today, in episode 21, we are going to be talking about medical gameplay in Star Citizen. And we almost had my second cat join me because she was sitting in my chair before I got here. But she decided to leave, so it would appear today's show is going to be without a cat. Anyway, a couple public service announcements before we get into the actual show. As I mentioned last week, I have a feedback survey public right now where you can tell me how can I do better and what do you want me to do as a content creator. What do you get out of that? Number one, every response is going to get a thank you email from me personally, and it's not a canned email. I write every single one myself, and it is customized to your response, depending on what you told me in your feedback survey and a couple other things. And thank you for the resub with Prime. Oh, and alerts are working. Chat is not working though. I don't know what is wrong with my chat overlay. Anyway, so every single response to the feedback survey gets a personalized thank you note, and at the end of the survey, sometime next month, I am going to pick 5 people who responded, and they are going to get a special merch item. What is that item going to be? Well, I can't tell you that. I know what it's going to be, but I want it to be a surprise. So no one's going to know until the first person opens their package, and they're going to post about it. Anyway, that was the first thing. Second thing, way more important, is that, and if you follow some of my other socials, you already know this, but CIG have given me a Hornet Mark II Heartseeker with LTI that I can give away to the community. So I have a screenshot contest running, and the winner of that screenshot contest is going to receive the Hornet. Rules are very simple. Number 1, you can submit up to 3 stars in pictures. Rule number 2, you have to be a subscriber or a follower on any of my social media to be selected winner, and whoever is selected will be asked to provide proof of this. Obviously, there are ways for people to cheese it, but, well, what can I do? Anyway, so that's going on. I am going to have a link to that either in the description of this stream/podcast. And I'm sorry, I'm out of breath. I was dealing with this situation here, right, like 5 minutes before the stream started. So, and it's also going to be linked on my social media, and it's going to be linked on YouTube, and it's going to be linked on my link tree. It's going to be linked everywhere. And the contest is running until March 3rd, because it's for Core More in Star Citizen, and that's when Core More ends, and that's when I'm assuming CIG want me to be done giving away this Hornet. They have been not very specific about what they want me to do with it. It was very much like, here's a Hornet, give it away, and that's it. That was like the whole extent of instructions, which I love. I absolutely love the freedom of choice of what I can do with this. And I told them, my reply was like, do you guys have like a preference on what should I do with this thing? Should I just like do a giveaway, or should I do a contest, or should I? And they're like, oh, whatever floats your boat. We don't care, which is amazing. I love it. This is amount of faith in me I have not experienced from CIG in a very long time. In other news, I forgot what the other news was. Yeah, anyway, right. Housekeeping notes, as usual. If you are listening to this on YouTube or on Spotify or on Twitch, if you would like to join me on the Comm Relay as a guest, because the point of the show is for me to allow people to talk to me about the topic of the day, all you have to do is join the Armory Discord and join me here at the time of the show. And my cats are chasing each other right now, so that if you hear some weird noises, that's my cats chasing each other in my apartment. Anyway, so if you would like to join me on the Comm Relay as a guest, All you have to do is reach out to me on Discord or join the Armory Discord and be in the waiting room when the stream starts, and I will pull you in when I'm ready for you. The streams are going live on Twitch every Sunday at exactly this time, so 7 p.m. Central European time, and let me open my little thing, and 6 p.m. UTC and noon Central Standard Time for you folks in the US. And the streams are getting uploaded to Spotify, to YouTube, and to Apple Podcast as a podcast when I'm done with the show. Yeah, and that was for the housekeeping notes. Also, if you're watching this or listening to this, there is going to be a poll under the podcast or in the community on YouTube where you can vote about the topic for the next one. Pacey, what did you do? Well, hello, and what did you do with your main account? If it's blocked, I'm curious to know the story of what happened with your main account. Yes, two-factor authentication. It gets all of us eventually. The other day I was trying to log into my Wargaming account, so the company that does World of Warships and such, because I played World of Warships many years ago. And they just put out a beta test for Project CV, like their new tank game. And I wanted to try it because it was an open beta. And they were like, oh, please log into your Wargaming account. And I'm like, I don't remember my password or my username. And the phone on which I had my multi-factor authenticator for it no longer exists. So what do now? But it actually turned out okay. I messaged their support and they actually got me sorted in like 3 days. Very quick. All they really needed was like me answer some general questions about the account, and I'm guessing I got the answers right enough because they were like, oh yeah, we reset your 2FA. Please log into your account and set up your 2FA. So that's fixed. The game, Project CV, it's okay. I don't know, I was not... Like, it's okay if you're, like, into... Think Overwatch, but with tanks. So if you're into that, it's probably gonna be entertaining. If not, I don't know. And it's in beta, so I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. It's beta release. A couple things were broken. Performance was terrible. But overall, I think they have a very fun concept going. It's just not my thing. I don't know. I tried Overwatch. I tried League of Legends. Not really my thing either. Anyway, yes, better talk about Star Citizen. So let's talk about medical. Now, medical gameplay was the voted topic for this week's episode, and there are a couple interesting things going on with medical gameplay, in my opinion at least. Number one, last year we got 2 new medical ships. We got the Ursa Medivac and we got the Terrapin Medivac. I think they're calling it the Terrapin Medivac, which not originally a planned Terrapin variant, because if you remember the original Terrapin concept, they were like, oh yeah, it's an exploration Frost Zone. Yes, I wish I was a Terrapin. Being a Terrapin sounds like a very chill experience. You just sit in your well, it's not really an aquarium, is it? It's more of a terrarium, and you sit under a lamp and you murder strawberries. So yes, I would love to be a Terrapin. But originally they had like the exploration scanning Terrapin, and they also kind of teased like, oh, you can swap the radar for a turret. And that never materialized, and that's the Terrapin variant I want. I want the Terrapin gunship for no other reason besides Terrapin gunship. It would be kind of cool. Like it would be like a stealth gunship concept, I guess. But Terrapin Medivac, pretty good as a concept, though. I wish it had more than one jump seat. Oh, and hello. So I wish it had more than one jump seat. They kind of had that feedback bit where uh, it did not have a jump seat, so they added like a foldable seat to the Terrapin Medivac, like the ones you see on the Cuddy Black. And I don't think that's like exactly the way to go. I feel like they should have just put like one or two full jump seats in there, because you are probably going to have that second person in there anyway if you're transporting someone, you know, have like a pilot and a medic. That's what I think the Pisces Medivac did correctly, or the Pisces Rescue. Uh, that they have, you know, they retained one of the jump seats from the base Pisces, and they replaced the other one with the medical console. By the way, the Pisces Rescue is one of my favorite variants of anything in existence, uh, simply because of how well they use the space, because the Pisces is tiny. And they put a medical console and a medical bed in there somehow, and like the full medical counter thing. Though, I would like to see a medical cutter, because there is a lot more room in there. And I feel like they could probably like get one or two jump seats in there as well as the medical bed, especially if they take the, what is it, the Rambler, which is the bigger cargo hold, as the base element. Or, you know, they could actually like remove the habitation area altogether and do kind of that Cutty Red concept, where the first area is just like a cargo plus airlock, and then the actual interior is the medical bay. But yeah, I agree. The C8R is brilliant. I used to have one. I used to have a C8R, and I don't remember what happened to it. I think I CCU'd to something. Oh, and yeah, medical cutter would be great. Like I said, though they would really have to do it in the same layout type as the Cuddy Red. And then they could probably like even get like a tier 2 bed in there instead of a tier 3. And that would make it pretty balanced, I think. And integer, I agree. And I mean, when you think about it, generally, the Terrapin has a very strange layout, because it's a pretty big ship, but there's a lot of just wasted space that could be used otherwise. Number one, I would move the components elsewhere and have all the engineering in the back, and then put like the scanning station and essentially a co-pilot seat in the hallway. That gives you room for like weapon racks and kind of the neck, and then you can have a proper habitation area. But that's just me. And I was hoping they would do a full Terrapin rework, because that ship is ancient. And Frost Zone, exactly, lots of ships have a lot of dead space in them. And that's kind of a theme for generally in Star Citizen, that you have a lot of wasted space. Some of the new ships do it better. Like when you think about it, the C1, C1 and the A1, it's actually a pretty good use of space. The cutters as well, very good use of space. But then you also look at some of the releases from the previous years, and you look at 400i, not great. You look at the Valkyrie, again, not great. Like the Valkyrie, love the concept of that ship. And I would actually like to see a Valkyrie medical. But, yeah, I think they need to do a full Valkyrie rework, because that, like, open balcony from the cargo hold to the crew area, I don't know, it looks like an OSHA violation, if you ask me. Anyway, but yeah, again, Ursa Medical goes very, like, the space utilization on the Ursa Medivac, also amazing. And yes, so the Valkyrie, it used to be really good when it first came out, but then as more ships were released, it kind of fell behind in the HP pool, and hopefully armor will fix that, because my assumption is that if it's a dropship, it's going to be very well armored. But we will have to see how it's going to compare to other dropships, because I think the Cuddy Steel has more health than the Valkyrie right now, but that doesn't really mean anything. Anyway, back to medical gameplay. So from like the many years that I've been playing Star Citizen, there have been a couple mentions of medical gameplay before medical gameplay actually came out. And when you think about it, the first medical gameplay was stab yourself with a meth pen because you're bleeding. But we never actually had the ability to stab someone else. That came with actual medical gameplay when med tools were released and body dragging and all that stuff. But it kind of ties into two things, or one thing. So, Death of the Spaceman, right? You can only die so many times before your character dies for real. And they sort of strayed away from it because parts of that was, oh, like your character can get injured and will need to get like implants and stuff. So like, oh, your leg can get blown off and you will have to get a prosthetic. And they were sort of including this like, oh, you can get like prosthetic limbs and prosthetic organs that are gonna, depending on their quality, change your ability to do things. And I feel like this has been mostly abandoned, or at least not really talked about. And I'm just gonna sorry guys, I'm just gonna lean over here and I'm gonna move the power brick of my camera away from the cable for my microphone, because I did that a couple streams ago, and the background noise was like the coil whine in the recording was terrible, and I just noticed that I did it again. Anyway, so I feel like CIG sort of strayed away from this. They might have abandoned this, or maybe it's going to be like a later addition into the game. Mostly because when you think about it, do we need that if you have, you know, regeneration the way they did it with like, oh, you have an imprint and based on that they will print another body for you? And yes, that imprint, it kind of has that mentioned like, oh, it does deteriorate over time, and that may cause some physical changes to your body, like scars and stuff. But they never really sort of specified it's gonna like require limb replacement and organ replacement and that stuff. They just said like, oh, eventually the imprint goes so bad they can't reconstruct your body from it, and that's when you make a new character. So I feel like that part was also kind of abandoned. Also, that brings me to the second thing. They had these sort of like grand plans for like medical gameplay being complex and in depth. And I feel like a lot of people had this, oh, it's gonna mean we're gonna be able to do surgery and have this like very complicated medical system going. But I feel like that is not going to be a reality either. And the question is gonna be why. And my counter question to it is, does Star Citizen need that? Because when you think about it, like, what other sort of like simulator games with medical gameplay are there? So you have Arma, where medical gameplay is apply bandage to someone. That's literally the entirety of medical gameplay in Arma, at least the stock one. If you, and I'm talking about Arma 3, I haven't played Reforger, so I don't know how they're doing it now. But in Arma 3, it's literally, this guy is the medic because he has the medical bag, and he gets to like bandage people up, and the bandaging of people up restores a little more health than when someone bandages up themselves. And that was the whole, you know, stock Arma medical gameplay. And then there, I forget what the mod is called, but there was a mod where they actually added like morphine and IV drips and that kind of stuff, where you could actually apply different statuses, and like healing people was a little bit more complicated. But that's a mod. It's not like officially part of Arma. It's a mod. Then you have DayZ, which actually has a pretty interesting medical system because they actually have like splints and stuff for broken bones. So fair enough, but I would argue that for games like DayZ, pretty important to kind of, it's a very, you know, hardcore survival game, so you should probably have that kind of a hardcore survival medical mechanic in it. That's at least I think. And then when we sort of look at uh, Elite Dangerous, there is no medical gameplay. You literally press a button and that heals you, like equivalent to med pens in Star Citizen, except you can't do it to another person. And then sort of my final comparison is squad, enlisted, or yeah, squad or enlisted, literally. And all those do, you bandage yourself. That's it. And I feel like in those games, the medical should also be pretty important. Yeah. So do we really need like complicated medical systems? I think what we have with like the med pens for basic healing, then like the med pens for sort of expanded healing abilities to suppress injuries, and then the med gun and med beds is actually pretty solid. I imagine at some point they will bring back the med bed distance limits for how far you have to be away from your medical bed to respawn in it. But that's about it. I don't really see CAG expanding it a whole lot further. Maybe with like crafting better med pens and that kind of stuff, but that's it really. And Frost, it's black tea, so caffeine. Thank you. Ah, yes, exactly. It's actually pretty good. It's like a Georgian black tea. Georgia the country, not the Georgia the state. It's like a very light flavor black tea. It used to be a big favorite around here during the communism times because that was the only one of the few places where you could get black tea from. But anyway, we have a. What should you do with your 12,000 points? I don't know. We have a lot of benefits. Anyway, we have a guest in the waiting room, so I'm going to pull Pacey in here. And Pacey, you are... Huh. You are in with us, but you are self-muted and self-deafened. But you should be unmuted. And we cannot hear you if you're talking, and the light is not coming up.
Yeah, sorry.
There we go.
I was muted and my mic was off. I was not ready.
That's my bad, sorry. But I do the same thing. Like my headphones, they have this like button on the back of the one side, and I occasionally accidentally press it when I put them on. So I'd be like, why can't anyone hear me? What's going on? Especially in meetings at work. Anyway, so walk me through what the heck did you do with your main account on Twitch?
No, I don't know. Long story. I did conduct support and everything, but long story. I don't know.
Oh well, I hope you get it back.
Yeah, probably.
I think you will. I had some. I think I had a problem with my MFA a couple years back on Twitch as well, and they got back to me pretty quickly and got me fixed up. Yeah. Like the Twitch has surprisingly good support. Is all I have to say.
Yes.
Anyways,
all right. How are you doing? How was your
day? Busy, but I'm doing great. Well, I had to do a bunch of crap. I had to do a video. I had a D&D session. I had to do.
Okay.
I had a bit of a thing going on in the apartment. So yeah, a whole thing. Anyway, how are you doing?
Sunday, just chilling, hanging out. Not so much. Stressed myself today, so.
Well, that's good. So, medical gameplay. So, do you have like which one of the medical ships or the medical vehicles we have is your favorite?
Actually, it was mentioned in the chat. Yeah, the C8R is one that I enjoy. Maybe as I see myself as a solo player in that sense, so it's okay for me. I like it. I like the perk of that small ships, respawn ships. So that's something nice. To be honest, I don't have too much to say about the ships. Yeah? I'm more about to say about the FPS aspect of the medical gameplay.
Well,
like
well, absolutely go ahead. That was my second question.
So yeah, it's interesting to me that there are actually just kind of three ways. Maybe I don't know so much about medical gambling, to be honest, but I want to point out my views. There are kind of three ways to do it, like with with a gun, yeah, with a laser, with a beam, um, medical gun, with a pen, yeah, and via a bet, tier 2, tier 3, and so on, yeah. Actually, this is all about it, yeah. Um, and I'm kind of it makes me sometimes wonder why there are no pills, there are no drugs, no, I don't know. It's just a little bit of lack of animation. I can understand it's work in progress probably, and all of all of that, but yeah, like we have pens for everything, oxypen, every possible pen, everything goes into the arm. So that's also interesting. Um, you mentioned it a little bit, I think, about prosthetics. I mean, we did get sneak peeked about legs, cyber legs, and so on. Like if you get a leg cut or something, maybe the bat itself will just put that on, yeah, rather than regenerate you from the hole. Yeah.
It wasn't it wasn't a sneak peek. It was a
Mhm.
I think it was a post a couple of
Yeah,
years ago about
exactly.
medical, and they were like, "Oh, there was gonna be prosthetics." Like, as with everything, it was like very
Yeah,
vague, very unclear, like sort of CIG throwing
yeah,
out ideas on what it could look like, and a lot of
yeah.
people took it literally, and myself included in that.
Yes.
And now I'm sort of coming up with the realization that was many years ago when I was an idealistic college student. Now I'm a seasoned developer, and I know better than to add complexity. So now I'm just like, oh, you know what? Regeneration, that works. Like, it just 3D print me a new body. Yep, med pens
Yeah.
seems good to me.
But I also maybe you can connect all these at the end, or hopefully they make sense. Um, you also mentioned that a person has like this role, yeah. Most of game simulation, yeah, there is a person that is supporter, and sadly we all kind of drag with ourselves like pens and yeah to take care of ourselves. That's also okay, but like what's the purpose of multi stuff, yeah, when everyone can do it? Hopefully with reputation through something, maybe you will get a faster healing or something. I don't know. That's sounds to me a little bit maybe as a advantage
That
for
that's
these
that's a
roles.
very good point. I mean, exactly. If everybody's dragging a med gun with them, what's the point of having a dedicated medic?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
sort of the way I look at it is, yes, you could have a, like, for me, a med pen is kind of like that first aid kit. Like, yep, I got hurt. I'm gonna stab myself with this, and it's gonna like keep me in the fight a little bit longer until I can get like actual medical attention. And the med gun is that sort of like actual getting healed type situation. And I think maybe in the future CIG will introduce reasons why not everyone has a med gun on them. Like, for example, right now, maybe one of you wants to have a multi tool. Maybe you want to use a tractor beam, or maybe eventually we're gonna need to like cut through doors, so someone's gonna have to have like a cutting tool on them, and that's where that role specialty is gonna start coming in. What
mm,
we're doing in ADI in my org is we are actually training medics
mm,
to act as a medic, like not be in the fight, just be a medic. And this
yeah,
person has a med gun, they have all the med pens, and they know which
mm,
chemicals to apply to a person for which injuries. They know how
yeah,
to. I think their skill set is going to be more in the, yep, I can apply the correct medicine to you. I can sort of decide whether you are fit to stay and continue with the mission, or if you need to be medevaced, or like if you need medical attention elsewhere, or if we can just get you patched up in a medical bed somewhere. And that's where I think the role of a medic in Star Citizen is going to evolve. Though it highly depends on
Yes,
what other options CAG give us on
I
this.
I really like that what you said, and I wanna connect it to a point in the past where I think that it was a ICL series or something, and they showed the artificial intelligence, yeah, the NPCs, like in a fight acting the same. Like some were supporters staying in the back, like some were pushers,
Yeah,
and they throw smokes, yeah, and covered the view, and then they tried to review the NPC teammates and so on. That's a FPS like tactical approach that I like, yeah.
yeah.
Um,
They did
and
show this for NPCs,
yeah, but what's the
and I don't think we
what's
ever saw it in game. Like they showed it and they
no,
sort of presented it as, oh yeah, this is a
yeah,
thing, and then just never happened. But
yeah, but
might be in development or something, obviously.
probably because that's probably also Squadron 42 stuff, yeah, because of cutscenes and gameplay
True.
and so on. But that's how it actually should be. Yeah? There should be persons that are supporters and should take these roles, but they should also have all the necessary tools and skills and items, equipment to actually do that gameplay. If I can take an example, hope that's okay from a different game.
Yeah.
Delta Force, this last game that just came
True.
out a couple of months, it actually has a nice setup of roles. If
I know.
you
I
get a
do
chance to
play
play
it.
it.
I do play
Yeah,
it, and I
and
like it very much.
and I'm for example in Star Citizen I never deal with medical stuff. If I feel hungry, I just go and lie in the bed in the next station, like just to get it quicker done, yeah, and healing myself additionally, yeah, in the
Yeah.
process. So, for example, in that game, particularly, that it has the medic has a real impact. Like you can revive persons faster, you can heal, you have that ability, you have
Yeah.
the med gun, you have
You kind of have the two medics,
support.
and both of them have like, yeah, you revive in like 2 seconds instead of 6 seconds.
Yeah, yeah,
And
and
the
you
one
can,
of them is kind of the medic, and the other one is like the buff medic. And the medic has sort of the long range med gun where you can shoot people with darts, and that heals them. But you can also do like, that's what I like about that game specifically, is that you can combo some abilities. And that guy has like the smoke drone, and when you smoke drone or smoke grenade and you shoot someone with the med gun in that smoke, it's actually gonna turn that whole smoke into like an area of effect healing.
that's true.
And the other one has like I think it like makes your reloads faster or something like that, like a speed buff.
Adrenaline boost.
Yeah, that's
Um,
like a very interesting concept for support character.
that's true, but also the players themselves, they can help just as much as needed sometimes. Yeah, then you have to get the role in. For example, like everyone can use a bandage or a
Yeah,
plaster or something. Yeah, uh, and then you need to get uh, another support. Yeah,
yep,
next tier support, uh, medical wise. So I don't want to take too much time. Just want to say that I want to really see more items in use. Like for example, the game you just mentioned, you have pills of different kinds, you have bandages of different kinds, uh, and many other items related to medical stuff.
yeah,
And
agreed.
that's a high detail thing. Yeah, maybe as we mentioned, it's still in alpha in progress. Uh, but that's what I want to see, yeah, from the perspective, because in a ship maybe it can wait a little bit longer. Like if your ship explodes, that's it, or if you how's it called, death state or something,
Yeah, if you
then
soft death.
you're the soft death. Yes, you're going to get out of your seat and fight in first person. You
Yeah,
know, like the first person should actually be more in focus rather than the ships. That's my opinion. And
Well, I think
combining,
it really depends on like what, and this is gonna depend from player to player because some people are gonna tell you like, oh, it should all be like about like ship interaction because it's a space game.
base game. Yes, yes, that's true. That's
But,
true.
but
If you implement soft death and such mechanism, you force the player to go first person
yeah,
and
but
fight the pirate.
CAG wants to have this like integrated experience, right? Where you're not your ship, you are you. So they kind of need to find a balance of playability and like the depth of gameplay between FPS and ship combat and vehicles in
Mm,
general.
yes.
And eventually, that's going to have to roll into this integrated diegetic experience of
But
Star Citizen.
just listen to me, Code, just for a second.
Okay.
Like, let's think about it in the long run. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's say I have a base
Okay.
on the ground. Yeah. I can have bases on the ground.
Yeah.
There is no ship. You understand? You have to have
Yeah.
your medical base, and within
Yep.
your base, you have to have equipment on you.
Yep.
Like it's first person on the ground.
Yeah.
Actually, very, very similar. And as I mentioned, ship, yes, it's a space game and everything. And I like the ships that are medical. I really enjoy them. But also, like, I just want maybe to talk short, more immersion, more details, more items, more things. But we have also to acknowledge that it's a space sim based on 80s sci-fi, so maybe that's in the way of Chris Roberts' imagination. Yeah, if you have just a pen and a beam to
Yeah.
heal everything.
Yeah. I would absolutely like to see some kind of like a different application method. Like the pan and the beam really makes sense because you can't like eat something when you're in vacuum or if you're like have your helmet on and you like can't take it off to eat something, so that or drink medicine, so that makes sense that you have to like stab yourself with a medical pen that have like, that you have like a port on it on your arm to like apply the medical pen, and like the med gun, I don't know, does some sorcery that gets the medicine through your armor. But I would really like to see uh, sort of ways of applying, I would say, buffs, let's call it, through like boosters that you take before you go. Something like, I don't know, maybe it's like caffeine pills, and you eat that as a consumable, and oh, you now can like run a little bit longer. Like you have 10% more stamina for an hour, that kind of a thing. Like that's something I'm missing. That's sort of like, let's buff myself before a fight or before an activity, and that's one of the things I'm missing. Uh, Maybe some like the one item that I'm thinking is, how they had with the Apollo, they kind of had like the medical drones that could like lift people from the ground and take them to the ship. I'm thinking
Okay.
something like that, but it's not a drone. It's like a stretcher, and you put a person on it, and they're like stabilized for like an hour, and you can like move them around in it. But that's sort of very far future because right now, if someone is knocked out, you can just revive them with a med pen or a med
Yep.
gun. And I think that's one of the things that will eventually go away, and you will like actually have to bring that person to a medical bed, or maybe there's gonna be a way to like temporarily revive them. Like, oh yeah, this guy got knocked out, so just like stab him with a med pen, and he's gonna be up for 30 minutes before he keels over
Yes.
again.
But here are all these details that come in play. Like just bringing the person to the bed is not enough. Like in the Carrick, you have this cabin on the side that you can go in and watch the action.
Yep.
I want to see this gameplay. Like put the person there, know his injuries, and do something about these injuries.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe a mini game in this MFDs or something, or some adjustments. Yeah, how much he needs of this medicine, how much of this medicine. So just a little bit of more interactions in
Yep.
that. It should be fun, but it should be also quick. So because it's FPS, right? Yeah, it should be tactical and all this. So it's interesting how it's going to be evolved. But yeah, I always think of a scene from a movie. I I don't know the movie name, but it's Will Smith and his son. Yeah,
Oh, it's the
I
I
don't
know
know.
which one you mean. It's like the one where
Yeah,
they crash. Yeah.
exactly. And then the suit of the guy, like when he's sick in a specific way, yeah, the suit changes color.
Yeah.
Like when he's poisoned, when he's cold, when he
Yeah.
like very interesting. When he's like that's also an interesting touch about visuality. Yeah, for example, a medical can know from a little bit far away already what he is. Yeah. For example, how do you know that that a person is maybe got radiation that's
Yeah.
probably going to come in the game? So all
I'm
these
I'm kind of hoping
are
like
going to
maybe they
come.
will add like an expanded medical tool where you can, because right now the med gun you have to be pretty close to a person to be able to like scan them and see what's going on with them. What I would like to see is more of a bigger, maybe two-handed medical scanner that can do the same thing over a long distance, or maybe it can't apply medicine, but you can like scan a person and see what's wrong with them. And the way I would design that mini game you want for medical beds is here are like obvious symptoms and injuries of this person,
Yeah.
and you have to like address them in the correct order, and that way it's going to take the least amount of time. And if you do it in the wrong order, then it takes longer, and that makes it
Yeah.
skill based because you can actually learn what the correct order for dealing with things is. And then maybe it's going to give you a list, and if you have a higher tier medical bed or a higher quality medical bed, that list is going to be more ordered in some way, like, oh yeah, it's closer to this order, or it's not, it's something like that.
Yeah.
Would be interesting
And
and semi-interesting or semi-simple to implement.
and also, for example, they also introduced items that have also tier quality. For example, the things that you get from the sandworm or other in nature, maybe plants,
Yeah.
they should have this quality tier. And for example, it's going to be a fresh thing maybe, but if you craft something like a med pen and you have the ingredients, but you have all the ingredients also high tier, you can get a stronger dose, like, and maybe it has a longer effect on something or faster healing.
Yeah, I imagine that's
That's
the
also
intent.
interesting.
I
Yeah.
imagine that's the intent with it, that you can like craft these higher tier medical items that have like, oh, maybe it like heals you more and gives you less like the blood drug level, so you can
Yeah.
take more of it before you pass out. And that would be like, again, very interesting. And I think that's one of the main reasons they're implementing item tiering and item levels, is to sort of artificially increase variety of items. Because, oh, if there's 5 tiers of every item, that now we have 5 times more items, just like that, like magic trick. So that's why I think they're doing it. Also to make crafting
Yeah.
a little more interesting, because like if you have like single
Yes.
tier crafting, it's kind of boring.
Yeah. But yes, that were a little bit of some thoughts that I had about the topic. So I
No,
am
that was very
looking
good.
into it. Yeah, I'm a player that like to go out prepared and so on.
Yeah.
So I like the suit ideas, that some are more resistant to cold or to
Yeah.
heat. Yeah. Uh, when you go to some hot places, you have to take some items that are for that scenario. Yeah, and so on. Like really get that environment thing also involved. Uh, this treatment system, yeah, and all this item equipment stuff. That's also something.
Yeah, that's actually a
Like
fair point that I forgot about, is that, we don't really have like environmental health states. So like, yes, you can get overheated or you can get hypothermia, but you don't really see that in the medical tool. It just kills you. And I feel like once they introduce radiation in Pyro, because with Pyro they were supposed to introduce radiation, and they had these like anti-radiation pens
yes.
for the solar flares. So maybe they will introduce it then. So like, oh yeah, I can see that this person is like overheating. So like, I'm gonna like stick him with a coolant pen or something like that. So that would be
Yeah.
very interesting to see, and that would be like a very fun expansion to the medical gameplay, and I think it would actually even like make medical rescues a little more interesting because like, oh, this person has been laying here incapacitated for an hour, and it's on Lyria, and it's a minus 70 degrees out here. The guy's freezing.
Yeah,
So that would be very interesting to see.
that's interesting. Yeah, and to connect all the dots, maybe come back to the ships. Yeah, to not lose all your gear and all your stuff. You can go to bed and you can be revived. And
Yeah.
but yeah, interesting topic. Medical gameplay, very important.
Well, it was
Any
voted on by the community,
aspect.
so that's why
Yeah,
we're doing it.
yeah, but very important also from the gameplay perspective. Like even if you are in a crew, as you mentioned, or in an org or a solo player, you always have to take care.
Yeah.
So
And
should
you know, in
be
general, you know,
fast,
I think you
funny.
should know how to do like the very basic medical stuff.
Yes.
Really, in any game that has any basic medical stuff, you need to know how to, you know, help yourself if you need
Mm,
to before someone else can help you. Uh, and
yeah.
that you know, in Star Citizen, very important, especially if you're in a fight. You know, the medic might not be able to get to you while you're still fighting, so you might actually die like by bleeding out before
Mm,
like the fight is over. So very important to know that, oh yeah, if I stab myself with a med pen right now, it's gonna give me like a few more minutes of being alive, or you know, I'm gonna get back up or that kind of stuff. What I would like to see is when you're incapacitated.
yeah.
Let's say you know you wake up after 30 minutes because there's like a solid chance like no one's gonna find you, like no one's gonna respond to your medical beacon. It's like give yourself some way you can self revive. Like I don't know, like I believe in DayZ, you pass out and then there is some chance you wake up in 30 minutes and you can do something about it. Uh, so
Okay. Interesting approach. Yeah, but sometimes bullets to heads and stuff
yeah,
like that maybe
well,
makes
it would have to be balanced in some way. Like no point, like you know, NPCs will finish you off if you are incapped. Generally,
yeah.
they will keep shooting at you. But would be kind of interesting to see if I don't know if your ship crashes or you're in an escape pod or like if you are in a PvP fight in FPS and you get incapacitated, then you know in half an hour no one might be around you. So if you happen to wake up and have the ability to like stab yourself
Mm,
with a med pen and then like limp away, I think that might be pretty engaging for some people.
mm,
Uh, might also kind of give people who do PvP and FPS
yeah.
the incentive to like double tap everyone, even if they're on the
Yeah.
ground. So
Yeah.
could be interesting either way. Uh,
Could be interesting. That's also. I have just a last thing also, and that also in connection with the ships. For example, the C8R that was mentioned and other ships. Like when going into these medical areas, you have like this space for decontamination, or how is it called?
yep.
Like that's also something that's interesting. That's very stretched and long procedures, and maybe for FPS to too long to take all this route, but we come to that point where we talk then about health and hygiene. Yeah,
Yeah.
also an interesting part that you take care of your health because if it decreases, it will impact negatively your HP, for example.
Yeah.
That's also a part like bringing contamination into the ship, like then maybe the whole ship gets this infection, and you have to decompress the ship with the airlock or something to get everything out and reboot the oxygen system. Every possible scenario that I can think about it in connections. But yeah, that was my last thing that I wanted to
Yeah, no,
talk about.
absolutely. I agree. You know, they have those decontamination areas, especially on the Karak, is very prominent. Uh,
Yeah.
so it would be interesting if they did something with it. I think that's a rule of cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, maybe it will become relevant for like when more toxic
Radiation.
areas and radiation comes in, where you will have to like go. But again, I think it's gonna be more of a rule of cool than a gameplay limitation. That's what I'm thinking at least.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if that was all, I will let you go and let you get on with your evening. I was happy to have you again.
Yes. Yes. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, and you did fill out the survey as well, right? I think
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I got so many responses that I vaguely remember who sent me one, but yeah, busy week, and my
Busy.
head is everywhere.
I
Anyway,
will get the things sorted, Code, and thank you for having me. And
absolutely.
greetings to the chat.
Yeah.
Nice to hang around, and yeah, good luck to everyone about the giveaway.
Right. Thank you, and have a great rest of the evening. And I hope to see you on one of the next ones.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Good night.
Yeah, good night. All right, guys. So kind of an interesting thing that Pacey mentioned there that I wanted to expand on a little bit more is uh, sort of the variety of medical devices we have. And he was actually correct in pointing out that we have, a series of med pens, and we have sort of the medical gun and the medical attachment for the multi-tool, but who's really using the medical attachment for the multi-tool? Like, I guess if you have a multi-tool and you need a multi-tool, you might as well bring the attachment in case you need a medical tool, but whatever. So you kind of have that med gun, which gives you the basic status of a person. But what I would like to see is maybe like a portable medical bed, like a stretcher thing where you can put a person and it either stabilizes them or it even like can render like a portable auto dock kind of a thing. Or it just makes it easier to manipulate with people. Honestly, like trying to tractor beam someone or drag someone out of a cave is a pain. So like I can now attach this person to a stretcher. They will not fall out, and I can like tractor beam this stretcher across the cave. I think that would be a very nice item to add. They did also add like those little medical beacons. I don't know. I think it was like a gift for an event or something, and everybody got one into their hangar as like a physicalized med beacon. So I think that would be an interesting thing. Though, if you're encapped, you can't really deploy that kind of a situation. But yeah, like I said, I would like to see some like booster items that you can take before you go out there. And it's not just for like combat, but like, oh, I am going into like a radiation area. Like I am on an irradiated planet and I need to like go out there and do something. So I'm gonna take some iodine. And that's gonna like make the radiation affect me a little less. I'm gonna like take some prophylactic medicine. So that's what I would like to see. Where it's like, oh, I'm gonna go somewhere where it's really hot. Okay, I'm gonna take a salt pill so I don't like get dehydrated too fast. That kind of a situation. And was a game that does this really well. It's called Icarus. And it's like a survival crafting game, and it's actually a sci-fi game, believe it or not. But you're kind of like crafting out of sticks and stones because you're like deployed on a frontier planet and you're helping colonize it. But they have this like very intricate system of different foods give you different bonuses. And for example, like if you drink cold water, it's gonna make you less hot. Or if you drink water from a lake, it can give you dysentery. Or if you eat some berries, it's gonna like give you a speed boost or that kind of stuff. Uh, so they have this like very very intricate system, and it's one of my favorite features of the game. Besides the building system, I like the building system in that game very much as well. Uh, so maybe something like that would be interesting in Star Citizen. Also like the bigger medical scanner where you can kind of from far away tell what the status is for people. Uh, or just have it like on your HUD. Like if you're a medic, like if you're a medic, you can have like a medical item or like a medical upgrade on your helmet, and that like everybody who's in your party it can like show you their status on your HUD, something like that would also be interesting. So, like I said, many ways CAG can go on this. Uh, the question is how complicated do we want this for it to still be fun? And I think the system we have right now with you stab yourself with a med pen or you use a med gun is actually a pretty good level of complexity for medical gameplay, what I would restrict, or how I would make this more difficult, is bring back the medical bed distance restrictions. Not now, but eventually somewhere in the future, because right now I think it's way more useful to have medical beds without distance limits. Uh, uh, it is not in anymore. It was in the previous version of Mobby Glass, uh, and I have no idea what it did. I don't think it ever did anything. They sort of replaced it in the new Mobby Glass with that like self status thing where it shows you your health, your heart rate, your oxygen reserve, that kind of stuff. But I don't think they ever like actually that would be another great addition. Like have like a health app for your Mobby Glass, and it shows you like, oh, this is like the injuries I can detect on you, and some kind of health information on your character. That would be very interesting to have as well. Uh, and yeah, that was well, yeah, that was kind of what I wanted to go. But yeah, that level of complexity I think we have right now is pretty good. Having some diversity in items would be very interesting. They're going to achieve that with crafting with item tiers, but having some kind of like prophylactic medicines or some other stems you can take that are going to affect your performance could also be pretty interesting. And they obviously have to have drawbacks. What I think back often is the haste spell in D&D. Like yes, you get double movement and double actions for 5 rounds, but then for 3 rounds you're slowed because you're lethargic. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. With like, oh, you can like take this like adrenaline booster that's gonna make you that's gonna make you like run faster and have more stamina, but you're gonna get very tired when that goes out. So you have to either keep taking it, and that's gonna have a mounting effect on your blood drug level, and it's gonna just hit you like a bad hangover when it's over. And yes, I like that idea as well. Like hidden injuries, or like you're injured, but you don't know what's wrong with you, and you have to actually go to like a proper medical bed, or like have someone with a proper med gun scan you before you know what's wrong with you and what to do about it. That could also be very interesting as a more depth to medical gameplay. Yeah, could be very interesting either way. Uh, anyway, so I am exhausted. So I think we're gonna cut the show right there. So once again, reminder: the Comm Relay is streamed every Sunday at 7 p.m. Central European Time. If you would like to join me, like Pacey did today, all you have to do is join the Armory Discord and be in the waiting room when the show starts, when I'm streaming, and I will pull you in when I'm ready for you. I would also like to do a couple more streams in the coming weeks because CIG gave me a bunch of ships and a bunch of skins to use and show off. So I would like to stream that. Also, for what I'm getting so far from you guys in the survey, that was my second thing I was gonna get to. What I'm getting from the survey is that you guys want more content, you want more engagement. So I am going to try to stream a little bit, maybe like once a week as a trial. Star Citizen or maybe some other games as well, because I play other games as well, and I sort of I like playing other games. So I will try to do that. I will try to start next week. I was trying to set up my overlays for it and stream this week, but I was very busy and I actually didn't manage to set up my overlays because my Stream Elements is like not working with me, and I need to like sit down and fix it. Second thing, if you haven't filled out my feedback survey, go ahead and do that. Everybody gets a personal thank you, and 5 of you will get a special merch item in the mail. I am still sort of figuring out how I'm going to do it. Option 1 is I'm going to have this mailed to me, and then I'm going to mail it out. But I like my option 2 a lot better, which is the service or the website I use to get my merch made. They will actually ship it to you. I will just like order and have it shipped to you. and that way it's going to get to you faster and it's going to be way cheaper to ship. And that brings me to the final thing. I have a screenshot contest running. The rules and the entry is going to be linked somewhere on this post, or it's also linked on all my socials, and it's also linked on Discord. And the winner is going to get a Hornet Hearts End. Yes, that's right there. Is the yes, right there in the chat is the rules link for one of the either the survey or the contest. So the winner of that is going to get a Hornet Heartseeker Mark II. So what that actually gets you is a Super Hornet Mark II. So you get a Super Hornet F7C Super Hornet Mark II and the Heartseeker kit. So you get the Heartseeker paint, and you get the Heartseeker bespoke turret, and you also get the Lovestruck paint so the Coremore paint for the Super Hornet, and it's also applicable to all the Mark II Hornets, I believe. And you also get LTI with all of that, and you also get a game package if you need that for whatever reason. But CIG sort of give game packages with all the giveaway items. So in case, like if I was doing a giveaway and someone who is not a backer wins it, they can actually play a game. Yeah, and that's all for this show. As always, this show is going to be uploaded to YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I'm gonna do it tonight. Last week I did it on Monday, but I'm gonna do this one tonight. And yeah, next week's show is gonna be Star Citizen conspiracies. And I'm gonna have to remember what was my conspiracy theory about Star Citizen. But I would very much like to hear yours. And if you're not gonna be able to make it to the show, just pop it in the comment. I'm gonna like read the comments on Star Citizen conspiracy theories. Yeah. So, or maybe I'm gonna like ask ChatGPT on what the Star Citizen conspiracy theories are. Anyway, so that'll be all for today. There's gonna be a video coming out tomorrow as usual. We're gonna be talking about the economy of small outposts. Before we talk about the economy of big outposts and the economy of big organizations. So I'm kind of setting myself up for that. Yeah, with that being said, thank you all for watching. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate you watching. And fly safe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. Good night.